Nothing that fancy. Crepini mushrooms, onions, potatoes.
Flyaway lettuce.
Flyaway lettuce. Yeah, I keep forgetting to not put lettuce on your food out here.
It doesn't matter. I haven't lost anything yet. I'm going to anchor it with potatoes. Potatoes are good, solid, earth-bound crop. So.
And I'll have to remember not to get the Honey Crisp. Next time there's a choice between Honey Crisp and Ambrosia apples given to me. Because these ones, boy, they just rot fast.
They spoil really quickly.
Yeah, I've had to cut up 4. Those are the remnants of 4 apples to try to.
Now it might mean that they're actually relatively close to
natural. Yeah.
Close to natural.
It might be, because they taste delicious.
Must be careful. Yeah, exactly right. It's just,
well, these ones won't taste that good because they were half rotten.
We don't like getting them. Maybe in the large. We don't recommend getting them in a large package or something like that. But if you got a few and picked them out individually, they might be perfectly fine. I don't know where these ones come from, but it's this time of year, so well, apples are not necessarily Mediterranean sort of thing. They can grow them in Quebec. They can grow them here. There's an apple tree. We can grow them
right
here.
behind
There's
where
an apple tree hanging right
you're
over
viewing
us.
from.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's shading it from the sun, which really hasn't.
But I have been eating lots and lots of apples, like probably 4 a day or something. And
so don't try this at home. But Pauline has got something. Well, you just got to be careful about what you do. But you find it has medicinal properties. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but it's
lots of apples. And I've been peeling them because I found that the dogs, Angel was the first one that clued me in that they liked the apples. She just started eating some apples that I'd taken off the tree and put in the back porch. I noticed some had bites out of them, and I was like, huh? And then I noticed her eating them. So she likes the ones off my tree. But when I buy apples, she doesn't like the peel. If I have peel on part of her apple, she won't eat it.
Which is an indication that there's they put junk on the apple.
Something wrong with that.
I think it's some sort of wax they put on there.
I don't know, but she won't eat it, and so I've been peeling them.
And would it were
for
something
me and
like
her
beeswax, but I don't think it's earwax, but it might be more obnoxious, really.
Well, I found that the deer also they'll eat the apple cores. Pitch them out in the yard, and I'll come out, and there'll be deer eating apple cores.
Yeah, there've been quite a few deer in the city. We had a drought last year, not as bad as I think they had in interior BC, but it was pretty significant. It looks as though we're going to have a continuation.
There's been so many deer come into the city, and you'll see them hobbling around, because they'll...
More than a few.
Yeah, they get hit by the cars.
So I can't say I've ever had a close call with a deer in the city.
No.
I did
but
one
you
time
drive pretty slow.
driving, and I drive right up the speed limit. So I try to be the most boring driver, the most boring driver on the road. And what that means is I drive the limit. People do find me exciting, because so many people want to drive the unofficial, which is 10 over the limit, which is thoroughly irresponsible in the city. If you don't have the skills. I used to drive, I've got to admit, 10 over the road on the
highway.
On the highway. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten more responsible to myself and to other people, and I go the limit there too. So like I say, some people find that exciting. I try not to drive under the limit unless it's bad road conditions and bad weather conditions. And stuff like that. So anyone who gets excited, I had one person, I was driving under the limit because dude was tailgating me. And so I was going 40 because if he hit me, if I ran into some sort of problem in front of me, if he hit me, I'd be in a wheelchair for life even at 40. And I got 5 fractured vertebrae. And probably others that are ready to go. And those fractured vertebrae would just collapse on me. So he actually he passed me right by the hospital. past me. Where there were 2 lanes, and there wasn't even a center orange line. So a shameful display. And actually, a little while later, another person passed me. And as I recall, I was going to limit there. So I found it very, very exciting. So there's some real nasty people out there. And, stuff like that. Anything else you want to? So I'll start reviewing stuff. So just in case you think it's...
He's proud of that because he did a cryptic crossword.
I did a cryptic crossword for the first time.
In German.
Yeah, I was building up to it, but it's okay. Because this book could be 35 years old. It's probably more like 25 or something like that.
And I guess you were doing it to learn German at first.
To pick up German vocabulary.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm doing it now. So I had someone 70 years old, just turned 70, saying to me, not too far back, within the last month or so, well, we're both losing bits of our memory. I said, I'm not. I didn't want to speak for him or anything like that, but I'm not. I'm still picking things up. I'm a couple of years younger, 2 years and 4 months younger than this person. And if they want to admit that they're losing their memory, that's okay. I mean, I suppose it'll come down to the point where I will be. I do have trouble with my short-term memory because of the various medicaments I take for cancer, the type of cancer that I've got. But I don't know. I keep getting sharper. So what I said to this person was, like 2 years ago or so, almost 2.5 years ago, I was taking Yucatec Mayan at the university. So that's from the Yucatec Mayan. And it was a person who was teaching, a very, very nice person. She was a native Mayan. And, I felt for her. She was giving this for free, right? Now she would have been getting credit and stuff like that as an exchange student teaching. She had a cracked cell phone, like with that could get images. What do they call the smartphone or something like that? And in thanks to her, but I don't have much money. I almost bought her a new one. That. But that would have been kind of maybe patronizing, but not really, because she'd done so much for me. And then there was a mathematician at the university who's interested in Mayan hieroglyphs, who took it as well. We're the only two that took it. It was offered for free. It was really for students out there. I was just out there. And I took it. And she was 21. And she actually started learning it only at age 18. Right? And obviously she was a good student because she was up there teaching it, right? And up here, exchange student. And what she said to me, this is just a little bit after my 65th birthday, is, James, you're learning this faster than I did. I was age 18 to 21. Now, I think she might have been exaggerating, maybe a whole lot. I don't think so. I learn things fast, not really fast. I retain things. So here it is. Yeah, I was going to review this when I get through it, because I've still got about 50 pages or so to go. Out of 177. Knackt die Nuss. So you can see there's a nut there. Nuss in German. So it's a walnut. Who cracks the nut? So they call tough puzzles and riddles, they call riddles redsels, and that probably is cognate with in other words, related to the English word riddle. And they call tough riddles nuts. So it's just a wee, yeah, I'll show you. Just a wee small cryptic crossword. Right there. I finished it up last night. Didn't keep track of how long it took me. It took me quite a while. And I wasn't expecting to finish it up. You know, there's lots of puzzles in here. I mean, finish it up. I'll finish things up with corrections. And that's the intent here. To go through these 177 pages over the space, as it turns out, of several decades. And finish them up. So generally, the majority of these things, I will have one mistake or two mistakes on each page. So you'll see here on this page, 96.9%. So I missed 3 questions. But, I mean, here it's a krutzel, a kruzzle. So what is it? You can put multiple letters in each box. Some of the tougher ones, as I recall, you can put up to 3 in a box.
Well, and I think it is. Oh, I shouldn't say what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's interesting that there's so many different kinds of German crossword puzzles.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah,
so they must really like word games that way.
Word games and just like practicing. A lot of this stuff, I've tried it with people. Like, let's take the German crossword and translate it into English and see if someone can come across with the answers. And some of the ones I was working on it when Pauline said, hey, let's go out and do well, she didn't say hey, but it was, how about we do a deck dinner. So I was working on it. They have Crosswords out of USA. And those ones have simpler sort of clues, shorter words. I think they've got this stereotype of Americans, and on average, it holds. Of being a little bit dumber and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think what I was going to say might not be a good thing to say or whatever. I was going to say that maybe it says something about various cultures, what kind of games they play in their off time or whatever, you know?
It's got to be said. You know, like Germans have been by times good at music. You know, like someone did a study going back, I think it was the late 19th century, late 1800s, best schools in the world. Germany and Scotland. And there's a reason why the Germans and Scottish people were achieving so well, and maybe still do, on things that really matter. Knowledge and knowledge-based industry and stuff like that. You know, it's important. You know, like if you don't put the work in, you're not going to get results. So this is a little answer to, Philip Rushton or whatever, a so-called professor, a fairly unprofessional professor who used to work out of London, not England, but Ontario in Canada, at what's called Western University. It's not that far west. I think it's west of Toronto. Everything west of Mississauga is west of them, I'm afraid. Western University, and he was going along saying there's a difference in IQ, average IQ, for Orientals and what I think the style is Orientals, and whites. What he styles whites, I think. Caucasians.
Was he Asian?
Philippe Rushton. Rushton sounds like a very English name. Yeah. Rush town. Originally it was like rush.
But,
you know, like
I mean,
farm.
his mother
sta-
could have been or something. I don't
It's
know. I'm just asking.
it's possible. So he was saying IQs, and you know, I suspect he's not messing around with those stats.
Yeah.
For Orientals, maybe it's the term that he used, is marginally higher than it is for Caucasians. But for how would he style Negroids, blacks? I'm not sure what term he used. It's significantly lower. It might be 10 points on average lower.
Yeah.
And you know, like I was recalling reading a study on how much homework Orientals in the United States did. This is, I guess, in high school, maybe grade 12 or something like that, and it was significantly higher. Yeah, it had to do with admissions into maybe Stanford or something like that, or
Well,
admissions generally.
And I was thinking that too. There was this one young lady that was in a statistics class that I was taking at university, and she was very excited. She got her test back, and it was 100%. And it was something like she said every time she got 100% on a test, her dad would give her $100 or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did I ever meet her?
That's a good idea. No.
I never met her.
But
what sort of test was this?
Statistics.
Stats.
So
yeah,
she.
Stats are really important. Yeah.
Yeah. So she. She. I don't know where she was from exactly. She looked Japanese, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult to tell.
She was Oriental.
Yeah.
You know, there's this in the various cultures from the Orient. There's a much greater emphasis on intellectual achievement, reading, and things like that. And yeah, it was just this study was on general admissions into affirmative action in places like Harvard, Stanford, and Ivy League and their equivalent universities. And I can't recall whether they were for or against affirmative action, but somewhere along the line, I think they were against. And the stats, maybe we can contest the stats, but hey, you know, as someone said, you're entitled to your own opinions, not your own data.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, you can't suppress data. And the important thing is Orientals, the kids, on average, in the study, were putting in significantly more time on homework than Caucasians. And as a result, they were getting much higher tests. SAT tests, I think, are the tests that are prescribed for people who want to enter universities in the United States, at least the more prestigious universities. You got to get a reasonably good score. But what they were doing was Orientals were getting too high marks, and so they weren't getting allowed into university at presumably the same rate as white folks. But was there racism involved? Yeah, kind of like, but not for white folks, because the people that were getting in selectively were blacks and Hispanics. Now, I don't know if part of the study indicated how much Hispanics were studying, but blacks were or African Americans. Like, here you go, Jesse Jackson. You're calling Jews the K word, but you want black people to be called African Americans, and I'll do that. And not just because I'm African American too. No, African Canadian, a little bit. Like if it had been a white person using the N-word in politics, they'd be gonzo rapunzo. But there is long time ago, Jesse Jackson got caught calling the Jews the K word. It's 4 letters. Same thing with Michael Jackson. He used that on a album about 1990, and that's not what killed his career. It was accusations of child sexual abuse. But like if black people, if African Americans want to get into university, they've got to put in the work. It doesn't do any good to anyone. Well, maybe it does to the select individuals who get allowed into Harvard.
Not in the long term.
Well, not in the long term, because what was happening to so many is they were let in. When you're in Harvard, you're up against the best in the world.
We knew that this was going to happen. That we're now seeing neo-Nazis and people like that protesting.
Yeah. Now they're in Ottawa, defacing the war memorial there. Hey, you cowards! You don't want to mask and you don't want to get vaccines. You cowards! Hey, like I had a stroke last June. Was it last June? No, the June before. In 2020, and if Johnson & Johnson were the only thing available, unless my oncologist told me not to do it, and she probably would, but I think I still would take the Johnson & Johnson. You cowards! And you're defacing our war memorial. You stinking cowards! And you are flopping around a Confederate flag. That's not even a Canadian flag. And flopping around Nazi flags. You flunky truckers who were involved with that. You've got to be...
We knew.
You've got to be responsible for the people that... If you should just get those flunkies with those flags, those Nazi and Confederate flags, and kick them out of your demonstration. Otherwise, I'm taking that as an indication of what you guys represent.
And okay? I'm certainly not, neither one of us would be putting down German people or anything like that.
Well, I'm part German too, as well as part Black American.
But it's but the whole neo-Nazi and Confederate thing, it's happening. I mean, it's really just the beginning of that. It was just the beginning with the Black Lives Matter. It was at the time, if you watch some of the videos I was recording back then, I was talking about how it seemed fishy. It seemed like something like a Charles Manson idea of starting a race war between the whites and the blacks. And at the time, Chuck Manson, I think he thought, oh, well, yeah, they'll kill each other off and the African American people win because they're stronger. And then, but they're dumb, and so he thought he was going to lead them, I think.
I think that was what he was thinking.
Yeah. And so at the time, I was thinking, this is what's going on, only it's not Charles Manson, it's People's Republic of China.
And Russia. Yeah. Russia, I think, were the main flunkies involved in getting Black Lives Matter. When we look at 2014, I think that was a key moment. I think that's when Putin decided to respond to Trump's flirtation with them and start really supporting him in a serious way for an election 2 years down the road. That's when I suspect if we checked it, we'd find out he started supporting Black Lives Matter. That's when Ferguson, where was that, Missouri, happened. And, when it was investigated further, it was found out the black guy that got shot was reaching through a cop's car window right at a cop's gun. Well, guess what? When you're resisting arrest, you're not allowed to reach for a cop's gun. I worked at the cop shop against my will. In other words, I was parachuted in there by the city of Lethbridge. I was there for 2 years. And they still talked about the one killing that had taken place in the cop shop, the old cop shop in the city of Lethbridge. And what had happened? A cop had not had his holster properly secured, I guess, and some person that was being processed there grabbed the guy's gun, the cop's gun, and shot him. You don't have a right to grab a cop's gun. And if you get wasted doing that, Well, your life doesn't matter. Black lives matter. But people who resist arrest, especially in this kind of way, grabbing guns, no, your life does not matter. You've made a decision. You know, it's like what Mick Jagger said about the guy who got killed at Altamont back in 1969. He said, when you draw a gun, you open a door, and you have to accept whatever comes through that door.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that guy, that poor fella, you know, he was near this stage.
And well, I think it's interesting. You know, there's been there's a lot of people from Africa in Canada now, but this is very recent. There used to be some in the large centers, you know, like Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Halifax. But I mean, look at our yearbooks from school. There was nobody that I was going to school with dark skin. There were lots of everyone else. You know, there were lots of various different Asian people and whatever. But Canada's cold and dark, and not a lot of people really want to live here if they are from sunny places and have
Warm.
a choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it is odd the past couple years the way the aggressive propagandists are trying to rewrite Canada's history and suggest that, oh yeah, African American people, they were here all along. Nope. No, they weren't.
They seem to. There were a few. There was Fred Ware, who was a cowboy out here.
Not very many.
You know, like I don't know why.
Enough that James has some African American ancestry.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that was
not
here.
Much from
presumably
the look of it.
In Western
but
Canada, because it was fairly recent. But yeah. I mean, it was not the woman involved didn't appear in the family photos because I guess they were embarrassed of her. Like that was then, and you know, I hope most people are over it. You know, I'm more than over it. I'm proud of that. So that was on my mom's side. So yeah. So you know, like. You know, like when people are demonstrating black side, it's amazing. Like what's happened. You know, like there were so many of the so-called demonstrations are just race riots. When shops are selected out for plundering and destruction and burning or whatever.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is this neo-Nazi thing, this protest, is really about misrepresentation. People are getting sick of it, and unfortunately there's some people who are on the fence maybe between being like sane and neo-Nazi, and they're leaning that way now because they're like, I didn't go to school with any African Americans. There's none were in my school, and none were in anybody's that I know, so how in the world were they always here if we didn't see them? And then all of a sudden they're
complaining,
so
getting here.
They're getting tired.
We're not visible. Well, you know, like.
So
why did you or your parents choose to come here? If I went to Nigeria, or if I went back to the place where I was born, in Zambia, I